I never thought it'd happen this soon, but at Nintendo's E3 2019 Direct, we got a trailer for the sequel to one of the greatest games of all time, Breath of the Wild. And man, if this game's half as dark as the trailer is, we're in for a proper Majora's Mask style creepy Zelda sequel. So let's begin breaking the trailer down. So first off, the game is not only in the exact same engine as Breath of the Wild, but it seems like it's the exact same Hyrule too. Which makes sense, the Zelda team took years and multiple delays to build this engine and this world, so it was always likely to be reused. The trailer's full of a lot of confusing stuff, so let's run through it scene by scene once, and then break it down properly. The trailer starts off in a dark cave with a strange green energy glowing in the darkness, and in the background we can hear a heartbeat, which is important later on. We then see the source of this energy, a spiral with symbols made from green light, which centralizes on a point at the bottom where it glows brightest. From the bottom of the green spiral we can see malice erupting in all directions. We then see a torch passed by some cave paintings depicting people on horseback before cutting back to the green spiral. Next we see Zelda riding on a huge ox or buffalo-like mount, following Link who is up ahead with a torch. They seem to be deep underground. We then see Zelda, now on foot, next to Link, both looking at the central point of the green spiral, a mummified corpse bent backwards. We cut back to the duo letting their mount drink in an underground river. A rat is consumed by a wave of malice which seems to be pouring from this corpse at the base of the green spiral. We then see a minecart rail bridge with bright green gemstones in the background lighting up the cavern. Link and Zelda raise their torch and we get a closer look at the corpse, which has long faded red hair and appears to be held up by the green spiral, which ends in a glowing hand with golden bracelets. This green energy then seems to attack, or otherwise react to, Link, causing his right hand to glow with the same green colour. Malice hits the roof of the cavern, Link and Zelda reach to hold each other's arms, we see an ancient temple, and the green hand grabs Link. We then see a silhouette flashing on the wall with what seems to be Ganondorf being attacked by the same hand, before the floor gives way and the mummy begins to wake up. It looks directly at Zelda, its eyes burning with malice, and we cut away to Hyrule, where the castle in the distance appears to raise from the ground. The trailer ends with the same green energy, with the sound of the heartbeat in the background. So that's a whole lot of stuff that doesn't immediately make sense, but we can break it down into something easier, starting with the first thing we see in the trailer, the spiraling green energy. This green energy is seen not only in this spiral, but also in the form of crystals throughout the trailer, which look incredibly similar to luminous stones, an ore rock found throughout Hyrule in Breath of the Wild. These luminous stones are said to contain the souls of the dead, and even glow the same eerie green as the flames that surround ghosts, like the champions and the king. So this green energy is strongly connected to the souls of the undead, perhaps being the pure form of a soul. This wisp of spiraling soul energy concentrates at the bottom in the form of a hand, which is skeletal with sharp fingernails. This hand is grasping the chest of a zombie-like figure from which malice, the purest form of hatred and evil, is being scattered in all directions. The hand itself is reminiscent of Midna's hair from Twilight Princess, an ethereal hand with jewellery, but whether there's an actual connection there is unclear. We get a close-up of this figure who looks incredibly similar to the mummified Sheikah monks found at the end of all shrines in Breath of the Wild, with faded flesh clinging to its skeleton and large gold jewellery. Though we can see this corpse isn't that of a Sheikah monk, as it features the symbol of the Gerudo on its jewellery and on the base of where it lies. When we get a look at the face, it's clear who this is. We're looking at the ancient corpse of Ganondorf, the king of the Gerudo, mummified. The Gerudo symbols, red hair and the forehead jewellery all clear references to the King of Thieves. Found within the spiraling green energy we can see strange shapes, which are actually letters from the Gerudo alphabet. It moves so much that I can't translate it, but we can clearly see Gerudo letters, like a J here. And the hand into which the energy concentrates appears to be holding Ganondorf down, pinning the mummified remains to the rock. However, from where the hand holds the corpse, malice can be seen pouring out in all directions, spreading throughout the cavern. What's interesting is that this spot on Ganondorf's chest is the same spot where he was impaled by the Sword of the Sages during his botched execution prior to Twilight Princess, and again by the Master Sword in the endgame. Could this be the remains of Twilight Princess's Ganondorf with his hatred and malice pouring from his fatal chest wound? Further linking this corpse to Ganondorf is the cave paintings which decorate the walls here. We can see multiple figures on horseback, but the most notable in the middle is wielding a trident. The trident is the signature weapon of the Gerudo and has been used by Ganondorf and Ganon on multiple occasions, meaning it's likely that these cave paintings are depicting some acts of Ganondorf. During the trailer we also see this scene where a bright light casts a silhouette of Ganondorf on the wall being attacked by the Green Hand. Ganondorf here looks incredibly similar to Demise, the original Demon King from Skyward Sword, whose hatred was reincarnated in Ganon, not like the skeletal Ganondorf we see in the trailer. We can see Ganondorf's pointed nose however, not the flat nose of Demise, meaning that this is Ganondorf himself. And since zombie Ganondorf's nose has decayed, this is a flashback to when he was whole. Perhaps this silhouette is showing how Ganondorf found himself down here, the origins of his seal when he was overpowered by whatever this soul hand is. At the end of the trailer, Ganondorf's mummified corpse begins to move. First his hands twitch and then his head snaps round to stare at Zelda, with each eye burning with malice, like the eyes found in regular Malice or on Dark Beast Ganon. It's interesting that, just like how Ganondorf here is preserved like the Sheikah monks are, he wakes up just like Monk Maz Koshia does at the end of the second DLC pack. First his hands begin to twitch, then his entire body stirs into life. The connections between Ganondorf and the mummified Sheikah monks are clearly intentional. Perhaps Ganondorf's body was preserved in a similar way to the monks themselves. The Sheikah are portrayed as benevolent servants of the goddess Hylia, meaning it's unlikely that they'd preserve Ganondorf this way, but we know that the Sheikah defectors, the Yiga, serve Ganon, meaning that it's possible that they were the ones to mummify him. Linking from this, I've got a theory on the channel covering the Redeads, the Walking Dead of the Zelda series, and there's a lot of evidence pointing to the fact that the Sheikah are responsible for the creation of these zombies. In many ways, the Sheikah monks found in Breath of the Wild are Redeads, meaning that here we could be seeing a Redead Ganondorf. Something to note about this is that at the end of Breath of the Wild, Ganon was eradicated. Zelda used the full Triforce to destroy Dark Beast Ganon, which was the form the Demon King took after giving up all hope on reincarnation, shredding the twisted body of Calamity Ganon. But here we have Ganondorf's body alive in the sequel. I think that this body, buried and sealed deep below Hyrule Castle, is the real Ganondorf, and Calamity Ganon, and subsequently Dark Beast Ganon, are just apparitions, manifestations of his power. Creating Phantom Ganons is a trademark technique of the Gerudo King, and we know that, in Breath of the Wild, Ganon was powerful enough to create 4 corporeal beasts of his power, the Blight Ganons. Perhaps Calamity Ganon was simply a Blight Ganon, a conjuration of the true Ganondorf deep below the castle. If the true Ganondorf is found here, it makes sense why Calamity Ganon appears multiple times from beneath Hyrule Castle. His physical body is trapped here, fighting with malice against his restraints. Moving away from Ganondorf and back to the trailer, the cave itself is notable for the huge amount of luminous stones found here. They were a rare resource in Breath of the Wild, but here they are in abundance. There's even a bridge with a minecart rail, so perhaps here, deep under Hyrule Castle, people once mined for these stones. Why this green soul energy is pinning Ganondorf down is a mystery, but it definitely seems that, by the end of the trailer, it has failed to contain him and he wakes up. When Ganondorf opens his eyes, there's none of the green glow that was there before the soul spiral was holding him down. Instead, this soul energy seems to have entered Link. It grabs him by the hand, and at one point he seems to absorb it. Nintendo obviously think that this is a very important part of the trailer, as it's the thumbnail for all of the uploads of the reveal, so whatever happened to Link here will almost definitely be incredibly important in the game. Interestingly, there was concept art done for Breath of the Wild that showed a version of Link who had lost his right arm, and then uses a Sheikah built bionic arm to help him on his adventure. It's also reminiscent of Princess Mononoke, the Studio Ghibli film which heavily inspired Breath of the Wild, in which Ashitaka defeats a demon but his right arm is corrupted, granting him superhuman strength but eventually spelling his demise. It wouldn't surprise me if this trailer is the opening cutscene of the game and we see Link absorb some of this energy and granted new abilities. Aside from the whole Ganondorf resurrection scene, we get clips of Link and Zelda travelling throughout the cave system. Zelda appears to be mounted on a giant animal, though we've never seen anything like it before in the series. It's a buffalo kind of creature with giant horns. On its back, it carries supplies for a long stay in the wild, with huge amounts of firewood, lanterns and sleeping equipment. I wonder if this beast will play a part in moving around the overworld, whether you'll have to use it to create camps. Link and Zelda here are moving past a vast wall of Zonai carvings, the mysterious, unexplained, abandoned ruins found across Hyrule in Breath of the Wild, the remains of an ancient civilization that worshipped the Triforce. The Zonai don't appear in Breath of the Wild, they're long extinct, but their ruins are closely connected to the Sheikah, with shrines integrated in their stonework and many of their ruins acting as trials for the hero. These scenes seem to take place deep below Hyrule Castle, as we see when Ganondorf awakes and the castle begins to shake and rise. So it makes sense for the Zonai ruins, which are closely related to the Sheikah, to appear deep below the castle. We see Zelda and Link letting their beast of burden rest and drink from a river, which looks cool, but it's unlikely to be a game mechanic and more likely just a cutscene. Speaking of Zelda, she's rocking a new look in this game with a new outfit and much shorter hair. I don't know if this means anything deeper, but I like the design, and after fighting Calamity Ganon for a century, it makes sense that she'd try and mix things up a bit and try a fresh look. One part of the trailer that gets me hyped to no end is this, the camera panning into the dark entrance to some Zonai ruins. We can see from the patterns on the side that these are indeed Zonai ruins, but the exciting part is the possibility that this is a proper dungeon, one of the things I felt was missing most from the original game. I can't wait to venture into the darkness and see what awaits. While the Zonai designs usually feature owls, boars or serpents, in this dungeon we can see what seems to be a sort of demon. Interestingly, it's very similar to the skull found on the barbarian armor, which was created by the Zonai, so hopefully this game will shed more light on the mysteries of this lost tribe. One of the final scenes in the trailer is this, an overview of Hyrule from Breath of the Wild. After Ganondorf's resurrection, the castle begins to shake, with clouds of dust rising into the air, before the castle itself begins to rise out of the ground. I wonder how far the castle will rise. Again, it's reminiscent of Breath of the Wild concept art, where we see that Ganondorf was originally meant to reside on a giant floating chunk of land, resembling Death Mountain. It could be that in this sequel, Hyrule Castle itself will levitate above the rest of the kingdom, containing the reanimated Ganondorf. The trailer's music, as pointed out by Zant on Twitter, hides a secret. Though it's distorted, the music playing in this trailer is actually the very same theme used as the Game Over theme from the very first Zelda game. A fitting soundtrack for Ganondorf's resurrection. At the very end of the trailer, we once again see this same green energy and the heartbeat in the background, though this time compared to the beginning, the heartbeat is much faster. Ganondorf has awoken from his slumber. Thanks for watching this analysis video. I'm insanely hyped for this game. It feels like the old days, looking forward to and speculating about Breath of the Wild before launch. I like that they didn't announce a release date, so we're not disappointed if they have to push it back, but I'm sure we'll see more on this sequel soon. Breath of the Wild is my second favourite game of all time, narrowly edged out by The Wind Waker, and I absolutely can't wait to return to Hyrule, especially one with a darker story. I'm going to be making a load of content on this sequel, so if you like this video, please leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already for more Zelda content. Cheers guys, and I'll see you next time.